My skill is making impossible possible. Fine, I believe you. This got the youth to recall Zhuo Fan's close call in killing him. How do we do it? Splendid. We are now partners. How should I address brother? Xie Tianyang. The youth spoke loud and clear. Xie, you mean you're from the 7 noble houses, Sword Marquis abode. Second-rate clans like the Shui clan relied on the protection of the 7 noble houses. Just that she never got to leave Blue Expanse City, not once in her life, and the only 7 noble houses people she saw were from Hell Valley. Oh, brother Zhuo, what house do you come from that you're so amazing? Xue Ningxiang couldn't help but wonder as Zhuo Fan was so young and yet no less powerful than Xie Tianyang. In fact, Zhuo Fan could have struck this disciple of Sword Marquis abode dead if not for the spiritual armor. Thus, Zhuo Fan had to be from a special background. Xie Tianyang also turned to Zhuo Fan with eager eyes. He wanted to know just which house gave birth to such a monster. Zhuo Fan shook his head with a smile. I'm no one important, just a small steward in the Luo clan of Windgaze City. The two were shocked. Luo clan? Never heard of it. It's quite normal for you to not know. Luo clan is just a third-rate clan. Zhuo Fan smiled. This time, both of them eyed him with suspicion. They would never believe that a trifling clan could raise such an expert. Not even the imperial family. Brother, if what you said is true, you are welcome to join Sword Marquis abode. Xie Tianyang's eyes shined as he patted Zhuo Fan's shoulder. Knowing where Xie Tianyang was going with this, Zhuo Fan smiled. You're late. I already signed an alliance agreement with Veiled Dragon Pavilion, but if Sword Marquis abode wants to sign a similar agreement, I'd be happy to oblige. What? Zhuo Fan just dropped a bomb that shocked the other two to their cores. Alliance agreement. Veiled Dragon Pavilion? Why would Veiled Dragon Pavilion do this for a small clan? This news was too outrageous, even worse than if the heaven and earth switched places. Xie Tianyang watched Zhuo Fan closely but shook his head in the end. Brother, it's fine if you don't want to say it. But do you have to lie to us so Brother Zhuo, we told you everything about us, while you still keep your secret. This is not proper. Zhuo Fan shook his head. The truth was taken as lies by others and he did not know how to respond. All right, Brother Zhuo, let's forget it. We'll be going our separate ways when this is over anyway, with little chance of meeting again. There's no need to know everything about each other. We had better listen to Brother Zhuo's plan. Only Xue Ningxiang pouted. Since we were brought together by fate, why can't we be friends? Zhuo Fan then retrieved a piece of paper from his ring and began to write on it. 15 minutes later, a strange design adorned it. A first-grade array, but I've never seen this one in my life, and I've seen my fair share. Xie Tianyang was from the 7 houses, and just like Long Kuei, he had learned of arrays from a young age. But few parts of this array were from an ancient era and not seen today. Thus, he could not understand the array completely. Xie Tianyang studied the design for a long time, then looked at Zhuo Fan with a firm gaze. You're from the 7 houses. No, maybe even imperial. I already said it. It's up to you to believe or not, but now we're working together. Follow me. Zhuo Fan took out a map and walked ahead with the other two close behind. All Beast Mountain Range was split into 3 areas based on how dangerous the spiritual beasts were. The first area was the safest, with only 1st and 2nd level spiritual beasts roaming around, and the seldom 3rd level. These were suited for foundation establishment and chi condensation cultivators to catch as spirit animals. And the Golden Spring Pool was in this area. The second area was the treasure hunting area, a place where 3rd and 4th level spiritual beasts came and went as they pleased. Entering it while being below the bone tempering stage equaled death. But this area was filled with spiritual beasts, an important place from where strong experts got their spirit animals. The third area was deemed as the danger zone. The spiritual beasts here were of 5th and 6th level. Even a radiant stage expert would die here. As such, if one didn't have absolute confidence in his power, he would not step foot here. Zhuo Fan was now standing near the border between the 1st and 2nd areas. Xue Ningxiang and Xie Tianyang were puzzled, but this area was filled with spiritual beasts, an important place from where strong experts got their spirit animals. Brother Tianyang, I'll be counting on your burrowing mouse to dig a tunnel to the Golden Spring Pool, then keep digging along this pattern. Zhuo Fan pointed on the map. This is where the Golden Spring Pool is. What? For it to dig to the Golden Spring Pool is not a problem, but for it to arrange spirit stones and set an array, it will take more than 1,000 trip. Correct. 3221 to be exact. Burrowing mouse is small and can only carry 1 spirit stone at a time. This means it will take 3,221 trips to set the array around the Golden Spring Pool. Xue Ningxiang went slack-jawed. You want to work it to death. Even the burrowing mouse seemed to understand and collapsed on Xie Tianyang's shoulder. Burrowing mouse shut its eyes. Even when it fell from the shoulder and landed on a rock, it wouldn't open them, though its twitching gave it away. Zhuo Fan smirked and ignored the critter while talking to its owner. Time is of the essence. Diamond sand could erupt at any minute, so get your critter step on it. Is there no other way? If you can snatch the diamond sand from right under their noses, then be my guess. There's a lot more burrowing mouse where he comes from. But as for diamond sand, only if you listen to me will you make a killing. Fine, it's just a first-level spirit animal anyway. Who would need it? The burrowing mouse jumped to its feet and pleaded to its owner with teary eyes. But Xie Tianyang was too far gone to notice its gesture, as he and Zhuo Fan looked like demons with their manic grins at the poor critter. Master, how can you be so cruel? I'll end up working to the bone. Zhuo Fan smiled at Xie Tianyang. See, I told you it'd be fine. Xie Tianyang sighed. Yeah, but this guy would hate me to the bone after this. When it came out for the final time, it was close to breathing its last. Xue Ningxiang hugged it and consoled it, letting it feel the joy of a survivor. No choice. If we wanted to have the array in place within 3 days, the only choice was its sacrifice. If he'd really died of work, then it wouldn't be treated as a first-level spiritual beast. Activate array. Zhuo Fan stood up and his hand flashed. With a hand sign, the spirit stones in the ground lit up. An invisible ripple spread out and the two arrays, thousands of miles from each other, were now connected. At almost the same time, the elder at the Golden Spring Pool shivered and opened his eyes with suspicion. What's going on? Why am I restless all of a sudden? Zhuo Fan revealed a wicked grin. Only one more push. When the diamond sand erupts, Hell Valley's elder would get the shock of his life. For a while, everything was quiet and peaceful. Xie Tianyang was feeling bored standing guard every day, while Xue Ningxiang seemed to have forgotten about the diamond sand and played with the burrowing mouse every day. It was his spirit animal, yet it was closer with Xue Ningxiang. But his worries about the diamond sand erupting and Zhuo Fan hogging it won over that feeling in the end. Zhuo Fan was a riddle, be it his background or his origins. In no way would he believe Zhuo Fan's words of coming from a small clan. Among their group, Zhuo Fan was the calmest. Over the past 10 so days all he did was meditate. As if he didn't care about the diamond sand at all, while in fact it also concerned him the most. Zhuo Fan, in Xie Tianyang's mind, was becoming more valued, with how rare such a character existed in the Tianyu Empire. At least he didn't have the state of mind to cultivate while waiting for the diamond sand like Zhuo Fan. A sudden sound woke Zhuo Fan up, at last, the 6th layer of qi condensation. To break through at such a crucial time, he would never reach Zhuo Fan's state of mind for years to come. Then a sudden bang resounded across the mountain range and the ground started shaking. It's time. Hell Valley's 7th elder stationed at Golden Spring Pool flew higher. I have waited 2 months for this. Men, cast the nets to gather the diamond sand. They then began throwing golden nets into the Golden Spring Pool until it was all shining golden. At the same time, at the stream, Zhuo Fan asked, did you prepare a net? Why would I come for diamond sand if I hadn't? Diamond sand erupted along with lava and it needed special nets to filter it. Brother Zhuo, what will you do now? Watch closely. Zhuo Fan smiled with confidence and his hand performed signs, heaven and earth reverse, mountains and river switch, yin and yang shift, twin array exchange. The spirit stones laid underground shined ever brighter and each beam of light pierced the horizon. All around the Golden Spring Pool, 3,221 light pillars towered towards the sky. The 7th elder felt uneasy. Reason dictated that along with the eruption of diamond sand, lava should flow out too. The hot springs water would be so hot that not even a bone-tempering expert should be able to approach. But why was there only plain water? Damn it, someone's playing us. He rushed higher in the air and saw thousands of light pillars in the distance. There. 7th elder seethed in rage as he charged. You're dead if you think you can play me. Meanwhile, the stream before Zhuo Fan's party was gone, replaced by a dark hole that was soon spewing lava along with fine and shiny particles. Diamond sand. Brother Zhuo, you're great. How is the diamond sand erupting here? This array is called Heaven and Earth Shift. It is a mere first-grade array, but it can reverse yin and yang, shift mountains and rivers. I only switched diamond sand's flow to here. Xie Tianyang was shocked to the core. As far as he knew, only 6th grade and above arrays could do that, and they were all lost. But Zhuo Fan not only did it but used just a first-grade array in the process. There may not be a second person in the Empire who can set this array. Brother Zhuo, would you like to come into Sword Marquis's abode as a venerable? Xue Ningxiang was tongue-tied. Zhuo Fan was so young yet he'd get to be a venerable in one of the 7 houses. Save it. Veiled Dragon Pavilion tried it already and I refused them all the same. That's why they changed to having an alliance agreement. Brother Zhua, you're showing off here. Alright, I will send someone with an alliance agreement when I get back. Where do I send it? Windgaze City's Luo clan. I will return when I am finished with my affairs. Xie Tianyang hesitated, then I will wait for your return. I want to sign it with you. With your skills, when you leave the Luo clan in the future, we won't lose out then. Sword Marquis' abode is so unruly, why would they want to sign an agreement with an outsider? And it wasn't with a clan, but with a single man. At this time, the dark cave let out a final eruption of lava. Seeing this, Zhua Fan urged, get the net. Why the hurry? The nets are made of spirit metal. They won't break in lava. Zhua Fan snorted, you think I don't know that? If we don't go now, we may not have a life to enjoy it. You think all elders from Hell Valley are blind? Who wouldn't notice the light pillars? Just wait, and you will have a profound heaven expert hovering overhead. Xie Tianyang rushed in with his hand signs to recover the net. Xie Tianyang was happy seeing the net but was aware of the imminent danger. Zhua Fan dragged them for 12 hours to this place for a reason most obvious, to buy time. Even a profound heaven expert would need 2 hours to reach here. Noticing Zhua Fan gazing at the stream's opposite bank, the pair shouted, the second area, wrong. Zhua Fan said dryly, the third area, is this guy crazy? The second area is dangerous enough, but going to the third is suicide. But they both were oblivious to the fact that Zhua Fan's aim from the start was in that area. 6th level spiritual beast, Thunder Skylark, will divide the diamond sand first then flee. Ever since they ran into Zhua Fan, they were led by the nose. Zhua Fan did whatever he wanted, whenever he wanted. The dust flowed like water out of the net and filled a 1-meter tall bucket, and that was just a third. Xie Tianyang started laughing. Despite his high position in Sword Marquis' abode and not being poor in the least, compared to the diamond sand before him, it was no different than being a beggar. Zhua Fan saw Xie Tianyang laugh, his eyes flashed as he turned back to the glittering sand with a smirk. Sword Marquis' abode's disciples are ignorant of the world outside. This is my share and the rest is yours. Xie Tianyang blinked, then smiled, no worries, it's fine if you take a bit more. Zhua Fan only took his share. Xie Tianyang secretly nodded and took the rest of the diamond sand. How do we escape now? Zhua Fan's hand held a small bottle and took 3 red pills out. He ate one and gave the rest to the 2. This is a first-grade pill, energy concealing pill. It can hide our auras for a whole day and let us pass through the second area while not attracting spiritual beasts. That's great. Where did you get it? I made it. It is unique to me. You're a freaking alchemist too? Perhaps he was a bit too amazing that Xie Tianyang even had to resort to curses, but Zhua Fan couldn't care less, which was evident from his shrug. Yep, the more skills the better. Who the hell is this punk? He's a chi condensation cultivator, yet can match me, a bone tempering cultivator. And now he's an alchemist too. Not only that, but he also sets up a lost array and refines unprecedented pills. Until now he thought that he had met a paragon like himself, just another strong opponent like the few geniuses he found his match in the 7 houses. But with Zhua Fan revealing that he was also an alchemist, gave Xie Tianyang's psyche a heavy blow. Next time around, he'd never say that he was a genius, at least not when Zhua Fan was present. Let's go. What's up with him? They didn't know that this proud and conceited genius had just fallen from Cloud 9 all the way down into the mortal quagmire. 2 hours later, a grey figure landed next to the stream. It was the 7th elder. His face was red with rage when he saw the steaming lava. Someone pulled the diamond sand here. He looked around and muttered, they just got the diamond sand and shouldn't have run far. If they stayed in the first area, death was only a matter of time. Then, think you can get rid of me with parlor tricks? Then he soared into the second area. 100 miles out, Zhua Fan's party was running, when a sudden cawing came from behind, followed by crows taking to the sky. What? Xie Tianyang and Xuaningxiang also stopped. What's going on? That elder is charging right into the second area. What now? He will catch up in no time. I don't know. I thought that the elder would first search the first area after inspecting the lava, just to be sure, thus buying us enough time. Moreover, the second area is notoriously dangerous, so I guessed he wouldn't come here to search so soon. That is why I picked this area to flee, and by the time he'd figure it out, we'd have a 6-hour lead, and for his safety in the second area, he'd be flying far slower to avoid 4th-level spiritual beasts. At that point, we'd be in the third area and he'd ultimately given up the chase. In that area, he will be in the same boat as us. Food for the spiritual beasts. so he'd never go in after us. Yet he went for the second area from the start. In this case, we only have 1 hour lead. If he catches up to us here, we're dead. Brother Zhua, haven't you heard of the 7th Elder and what he is famous for? I only knew that a Hell Valley's Elder was stationed here, but not the details. Know your enemy and yourself and you shall win 100 battles. It's normal for you to make a mistake when you don't even know how dreadful the 7th Elder is. Dreadful? He is greatly admired in Hell Valley, and even Valley Lord Yuanshan consults with him. Or he wouldn't have left such an important city in the 7th Elder's charge. You're saying his strong, not his strength, but his schemes. He is cunning and deceitful, known as the insidious demon. His mind is filled with schemes. Many elders of the 7 houses have fallen in his ploys. Even Veiled Dragon Pavilion's Elder Ju lost his purple lightning gold eye because of the 7th Elder's plot. Many hate him to the bone, but even more fear him. No wonder Zhua Fan's plan fell through. He is another who plays open schemes. This kind of plot is useless against him. Brother Zhua, our only choice is to leave Lady Ninga behind. With our speed, we may be able to escape the 7th Elder's clutches. Xue Ningxiang shuddered and grabbed Zhua Fan's arm with a pitiful look. Brother Zhua, you promised to get me out. Brother Zhua, this is not the time to be soft. Leave her behind. She will stall the 7th Elder while we escape. If not for my energy concealing pill, you'd have thrown me away too. Xie Tianyang's mouth pursed. I won't abandon anyone. As for that elder, I have my way to deal with him. I will fight him right here, with an array. Xie Tianyang nodded after a careful ponder. He knew of Zhua Fan's skills in arrays and was certain that Zhua Fan was an array grandmaster. Xue Ningxiang was beaming as she heard him and was swinging Zhua Fan's arm on and on with a red tint on her cheeks. Suddenly, he stopped in an open space, leaned over and looked at the traces on the ground, his calm eyes flashing from time to time. 3 little cubs, why don't you run away? The Elder 7 smiled coldly, straightened his waist and looked around, his eyes flashing coldly. You came out by yourself, or asked the old man to catch you personally come out. It's true that the 7 elders are known as the ghosts of the 7 tricks. Sure enough, they have a heart of the 7 trick. Just by the trace of our rush, we know how many of us we admire and admire. Boy, just broke through the Chichi realm. Good ear power. Zhua Fan hiding in the dark could not help but sigh, his eyes moved around. The 7 elders were much smarter than he thought. They were really difficult to deal with, but he remained calm on the surface. The 7 elders are chasing after thousands of miles, nothing more than that for the Diamond Sands. 7 elders have been chasing for so long, and they should be tired too. Besides, here is a hands-on, attracting 4th-level spirit beasts. If we give you a part, can you give us a way of life? The joke. The Vaja quicksand was originally the old man. You stole the old man's things and still bargained with the old man. Today the old man is going to take back the King Kong quicksand. We must take away the lives of some of your little devils. The lush woods in front, and were all smashed by the elder of the 7 elders, revealing Zhuofan who was sitting on a large rock. I know that the old man has good ears. You still talk to the old man about the conditions. It's just to death. The 7 elders were soon approaching, and they shot Zhuofan without hesitation. But Zhuofan was not afraid at all, and smiled coldly. Hey, since I dare to do this, I am not afraid to expose Lao Tzu's hiding place. For no reason, with a loud noise, Zhuofan's flames rose more than 10 feet behind him. With a whisper, a flaming phoenix suddenly appeared behind him. 2 wings and 2 thick pillars of fire suddenly shot at the 7 elders. The flames exploded, and the 7 elders flew back with the huge impact of the flame explosion, and the palms of both hands had become black. This is formation. The 7 elders never thought that this little devil's strength was so low that he could arrange such a deep formation. Seeing this power, it has reached the level of a 5-level formation. Unfortunately, with your strength, even if you control the 5-level formation, you still want to win the old man. After all, the 7 elders suddenly rose into the air, and the seals were in their hands. Suddenly, a vicious ghost-face ghost slowly appeared behind him, gurgling black air wrapped around it. A burst of screams rang through the entire sky, and even the surrounding temperature dropped instantly. I don't think you have practiced such a terrifying magic skill. Is this the inherited martial art of Ghost Valley? The 7 elders smirked, and their fingerprints were pointed forward, and the ghost-faced shadow suddenly rushed towards Zhuofan. The flames collided with the ghost-face ghost image, and no imaginary explosion occurred. On the contrary, as soon as the flame touched the ghost face, it seemed to have encountered ice, and it gradually faded. Seeing this scene, the 7 elders smiled triumphantly, but Zhuofan narrowed his eyes slightly and shouted, "Ninga, let's do it." Hearing Zhuofan's shouting, Xueningsiang quickly mobilized the seal that Zhuo Fan had taught him. Suddenly, the breeze flew out like a blade, and merged into the fire pillar spitting out by the fire phoenix. At this moment, the wind assisted the fire, and the pillar of fire suddenly expanded more than 10 times. The flame that was suppressed until it was about to extinguish was also instantly counterpressured, making the ghost face retreat indefinitely. 7 elders narrowed their eyes and a drop of cold sweat slowly shed. He never imagined that there was more than one person who manipulated the formation, but there was actually a helper. Xie Tianyang, it's your turn. Laro Tzu is waiting for this moment. See how Laro Tzu takes down Tian Xian Master's head. Xie Tianyang played a trick. A 10-foot-long thunder dragon phantom appeared suddenly behind him. A roar turned into a thunder and suddenly rushed towards the ghost face. Thunder enters the fire assists the thunder, and the flame burst. If this is hit, with the power of the 5-level formation, even if he is a master of Tianxian, he will be seriously injured without dying. Thinking of this, the 7 elders gritted their teeth, a light flashed in their hands, and a long rope like a centipede suddenly flung out. 4-grade magic treasure. The 7 elders looked around the 3 of them, panting gaspingly, and clenched their teeth. I didn't expect the old man to have a lifespan, and today I will be forced to the same level by the 3 imp. Now the old man admits your strength. If we continue this way, we will not be able to win or lose anymore. In the end, we will only lose both sides. As you said, you are divided. Give the old man a part of the diamonds, and the old man will no longer be held accountable. Hearing this, Zhuo Fan looked at each other, and nodded slightly to Zhuo Fan. Zhuo Fan thought for a moment, and showed a warm smile. Okay, let's reconcile. With that said, Zhuo Fan jumped off the stone platform, and the elders of the 7 breathed out a breath, put away the magic treasure, and slowly flew towards Zhuo Fan. However, just 2 meters away from the 2 people, the 2 people's eyes at the same time appeared a sudden killing intention. Boy, die. Slain him. At almost the same moment, the 2 shouted together. 7 elders immediately took out the magic treasure and threw it to Zhuo Fan. Zhuo Fan had already finished the seal, and pointed forward. Xueningsiang and Xie Tianyang froze for a moment, so they took a step late, but soon the blue wind gang and the dazzling lightning gathered again and struck the 7 elders. The 7 elders were so angry and white, they gritted their teeth and said, "You little rabbit, the old man should not believe you. Everyone is a devil, and each other. Who are these 2? One is more treacherous, and the most basic sense of trust in the world is gone." This is the same with the old one. From the beginning, both of them wanted to kill each other, and never thought of reconciliation. Both of them are so evil, they have no faith at all. But the other way around, if one of them is loyal, then now his mother is dead. Fortunately, there is such a wicked person here, otherwise everyone will be over. I never imagined that one of the 3 people was well versed in the method of formation, and his deep thinking was nothing like an ignorant boy. As long as the 3 teamed up to run the formation, he would be extremely cheap. Suddenly, he seemed to have thought of something, and a pair of eagles suddenly flashed a strange color in his eyes. You are the 3rd Miss Xue family. The old man saw you 5 years ago last time, when you were just a child at that time. Almost already grown into a big girl. 7 elders, what do you have to tell me? Don't scare the little girl. Ninga, why are you doing this right with the old man? I want you to come to the Xue family as our subsidiary family of Ghost Valley. Your Xue family has always been good. But what you did today. Speaking of which, a murder intention suddenly flashed in the eyes of the 7 elders. Xueningsiang shook his body, and his hands, which had always been sealed, unconsciously let go. Zhuo Fan was surprised, knowing that the 7 elders were threatening Xueningsiang, and hurriedly said, "Do it." But Xueningsiang has been stunned, her hands shaking. Xie Tianyang screamed badly. Xueningsiang was afraid to act rashly at this time because she was worried about her family's retaliation. Without the help of wind, the power of fire and thunder will also be greatly reduced. He only flicked the long line and smashed the fire and thunder union into pieces. The 7 elders still stood in the air, but Zhuo Fan and Xie Tianyang shivered unceasingly, and their blood was pouring. "Ha, that's it. Ninga, you're doing it right now. These 2 kids can pat on the ass and leave, but you Xue family is not so easy to leave. Ninga, don't listen to this old guy. He has recognized you, and going back will definitely destroy your Xue family. Now the only way to save the Xue family is to kill him here. Remember what I told you before, this wind and thunder burst is a triad 5-level formation. As long as the 3 people work together, it is regarded as Tianxian. He can't get out of the game even if he is a master." Zhuo Fan saw this, his mouth twitched, and finally shouted, "If the old kid escapes, the Xue family is really over. Can't let him leave here, he must die." As if something exploded in his mind, Xuaningxiang suddenly raised his head, and in his two clear eyes, there was a rare murderous intention. Finally, Xuaningxiang roared, and the seal in her hand snapped. A blue cheetah phantom behind her, whose power was more than 10 times stronger than before. The 7 elders couldn't help but be overwhelmed. This turned out to be the power of Xuaningxiang's full power to launch the formation. At the beginning, she had not yet exerted all her strength. It seemed that this had already been anticipated. Zhuo Fan and Xie Tianyang smiled at each other. The 3 elements of wind, fire, thunder and thunder gather together with the strongest power ever, forming a world-destroying power and rushing towards the 7 elders. Seeing this scene, even the 7 elders, who had always been calm, couldn't help but be horrified. Quickly lift the long rope and flick forward. A loud noise rang out, and the entire second area was trembling. Even some 4th-level spirit beasts, after hearing this loud noise, fled in hiding. In the huge explosion, 7 elders shook a dozen meters away. His hair and beard were all scorched, and a mouthful of blood could not help spitting out again. It can be seen that the thunder flames even invaded his internal organs under this blow. I am afraid that his internal organs have already been hit hard. If he comes again, he will definitely die. How could he think that a woman who went crazy could actually increase the power of the entire formation to such a degree? Even he can't stand it a few times. The old kid can't hold it anymore. Ninga, Xie Tianyang, we're ready, we'll give him another blow. But he and Xie Tianyang hadn't had time to get together, and a blue leopard rushed towards the 7 elders again. Zhuo Fan turned his head and saw that Xuaningxiang's eyes were mad, his hands were constantly printed with seals, and his mouth was still muttering, he must die. Although the cyan leopard rushed towards him was fierce, but there was only 1 element of wind, without the help of fire and thunder. He did not pay attention to it at all. When the long rope was thrown in his hand, he had already smashed the leopard. No, go and help Ninga. However, such an uncoordinated action is far from the mystery of the formation. The 2 elements were scattered. Crazy girl, the old man almost died in your hand just now. If it were not for your use, the old man would strangle you now. 7 elders snorted, grabbed her by the neck, and lifted her up. What are your 2 imps called? The old man will pick you up later. Xuaningxiang coughed hard, squinted slightly at Zhuofan and murmured, quickly kill him, don't let him go back and hurt my father. It's a filial daughter. Still think about my father. But, unfortunately, the 2 Marutu boys have no ability to kill the old man now. When the old man goes back, you must keep the Shui family dogs. Yugichi 7, you are elders in the Nether Valley, now you are bullying a little girl with no power. Don't you feel ashamed? The word shame is completely non-existent in the eyes of our devil. You are very good. It is very temperamental to the old man's temperament, and a few words can ignite the girl's fighting spirit. If we are not the enemy today, the old man will definitely accept you to get started. You hurt my friend, I must kill you. Hearing this, Xuaningxiang shed tears in 2 lines. Squinting his eyes slightly, Zhuo Fan's face was now determined. Xie Tianyang, ready to shoot. But Ninga, if he could not kill this old guy, he went back and killed Shui's family, and Ninga would not look away even if he died. Xie Tianyang roared aloud, and his tactics hit. With a tremendous roar, a thunder dragon rushed toward the 7 elders. Zhuo Fan was also blushing with red eyes, and roared, and the fire phoenix behind him spread his wings and followed closely. The 7 elders showed a disdainful look. Well, the Pharaoh's team can understand this. Without the help of wind, even if the 2 elements of thunder fire are powerful, they can't take it. Zhuo Fan suddenly showed a strange smile. Who says we have no wind? The next moment, where the 7 elders were, a strong tornado was suddenly raised, trapping him firmly inside, like a cell made of blue winds. At this time, Thunder Dragon and Fire Phoenix also hit at the same time. The flames, interspersed with thunder, burst continuously in the blue storm, blowing everything inside into nothingness. Its power is actually more powerful than that of the 3, and it is more than several times more powerful. In the distance, Xie Tianyang was completely stupid, and muttered in his mouth, how could there be a storm, right? Zhuo Fan looked at him with a smile, and no longer lost his friend's sad face. I first told you that the 5-level formation cannot be controlled by my ability. You must unite 3 people. It is a lie to you. With the shrewdness of the Ghost 7, you will definitely see through you, then you can't deceive him. This is lie to us. Xie Tianyang's eyes widened and he stammered. This Ghost 7 is super smart and is a wise man in Ghost Valley. If I fight with him alone, there may not be a chance of winning, so I arrange for you to form a joint formation with me. Save me some strength, but there is also a fatal weakness. That is, 3 people must unite to maximize their effectiveness. This weakness, with the ghost of Ghost 7, will surely be found. Then he will look for the weakest of the three of us. Obviously, Ninga is the weakest, and Ghost 7 will definitely do it from her breakthrough. But he never thought that Ninga was exactly the bait I laid for him. When he got there, he would have fallen into a trap. Did you mean that you were going to give up Ninga at the beginning? He still remembers clearly now that he shouted in front of Ninga, Lao Tzu will not abandon, the scene of Yi Boyunshan. But I never imagined that he was such a person. Why are you looking at me like this? Zhuo Fan glanced at Xie Tianyang and said with a sneer, don't you have proposed it long ago? You want to throw away the burden of Ninga and run away alone? I'm just more than you think. Make full use of this burden. What do you promise Ninga's promise? I heard that you promised Ninga to take her out of the city. With a chuckle, Zhuo Fan shook his head indifferently. It's the same with taking her body out of the city. After spending more than a month, he naturally knew Zhuo Fan quite well. But now when I look at him again, I feel so strange and terrible. Such a ruthless person actually made him the master of the sevenfold forging bone realm. For the first time he was more frightened than seeing the opponent of God's light realm. At this moment, a big laugh came suddenly from the thunderstorm. After Zhuo Fan heard it, his pupils shrank sharply and suddenly turned to look there. Boy, you really fit the old man's spleen and stomach. Selfish, cold, and ruthless, even his own people can use it without hesitation. A boy like you, even an old man, has some fear in his heart. A loud noise erupted, and the fire and thunderstorm was suddenly fragmented and shattered, revealing the 7 elders with grim smiles inside. But at this moment, his hand was no longer just an original long rope, but another black long rope in his other hand. Boy, I can't think of the old man's shrewdness. Today, I will almost miss your words and almost die here. The old man is the first time that a horrible kid like you is encountered. He saw that Xue Ningxiang had been unconscious. It seemed that his 2 long ropes were protecting himself. At the same time, the girl was also protected. Zhuo Fan didn't care about the girl's life and death. Now, he just stared at the black long rope tightly. His eyes narrowed, and he said solemnly, there is still a 4th grade magic treasure. The 7 elders put the 2 long cables together, and suddenly turned into a whole black and white long cable. 4th grade magic treasure. The yin and yang twin cables are originally one, and the old man usually uses the yang cable to the enemy. Insuo only came out when it was necessary to kill. Today, in order to save your life, actually let you see this Inshang in advance. It is your ability. Others, even Tianqian masters, can only be seen at the moment before death to its true capacity. It's worthy of being a ghost of Chiqiao, and it really can be tolerated. I would rather have suffered the full blow of the 3 of us, was seriously injured, and did not want to reveal his whole card. Of course, the 7 elders coughed lightly and coughed up a lot of blood, but there was a smug smile on their faces. This world is full of conspiracy and deceit, and the old man always keeps the last whole card. So only the old man is the man of the man. Fen, how can others get the old man? But this time, it's an exception. Who said this? Zhuo Fan's mouth twitched, and a dozen tactics in his hand. A red light flew out of Xue Ningxiang's body, and flew straight toward the 7 elders. Seeing that the blood infant was about to enter the Ghost 7, Zhuo Fan showed a safe smile and said lightly, it's over, Elder 7, this decisive battle will eventually win Lao Tzu. Suddenly, Zhuo Fan also felt that the internal organs were tumbling, and a large gulp of blood spewed out violently. How is this possible? Zhuo Fan looked at the 7 elders staring blankly, only to see that the blood infant was hanging behind the 7 elders with a melancholy. A short sliver of silver flashed straight through the blood infant's chest. Sanpin magic treasure, fish bowel. 7 elders glanced coldly at Zhuo Fan, and instantly recovered the fish intestine thorn into his elbow. Zhuo Fan also knelt on his knees, his eyes stunned. He couldn't believe it, he would lose in the end. On the other side, Xie Tianyang wanted to raise his sword to resist, but he was thrown on the chest by the yin cable, spitting out a bloodline in his mouth, and he fainted completely. Fortunately, he has a body armor, otherwise he is already dead. Boy, the old man is known as the exquisite Chiqiao ghost. But how can one guess the old man's mind? You are very good, really good. On the mentality, you make the old man feel afraid. If there is another 1 or 2 decades, it must be the magic Dao Xiaoxiong. Even if the first wise man of that day, Zhuge Changfeng, it must not be your opponent. But unfortunately, there is no such opportunity. Because the old man is also afraid you will continue to grow. Let the old man have this feeling. You are the first. You died in the hands of the old man today, saying you are not losing money. At the end of the organization, we are half a catty. But the old man is stronger than you. Losing is losing, whether it is in calculation or in strength. The person who died last is lost. However, he is still not reconciled. He still has a lot of things to do. In the face of absolute strength, any calculations and means are futile. The loser has no power to do anything. Suddenly, a loud roar rang across the 10,000 Beast Mountains, and the palm of the 7 elders had just hit a centimeter above Zhuofan's head. Looking far away in the direction of the third area, the elder 7 looked uncertain. Why does this monster come to the second area? Once again, he saw Zhuofan, who had fallen to the ground, unconscious of the personnel, and the 7 elders gritted their teeth and flew back quickly to fly back. Even the diamond quicksand was not needed. After a while, a hissing sounded and the whole sky dimmed instantly. A strange bird flapping its huge wings flew over the whole cloud and covered the sky. The wings of the strange bird burned with blue flames, and every time it fanned, Mars must fly down. And wherever Mars touches it, it will inevitably burn into nothingness. The place where the strange bird passed through, the lush forest that was there before, instantly turned into ashes. Even some 4th-level spirit beasts are exposed to the flames. They will still have no bones. Xuaningxiang slowly opened her eyes, but everything in front of her surprised her. Why was the previously lush tree now turned into black charcoal? Could it have been caused by the battle with the 7 elders? Thinking of this, she hurriedly looked around and looked for Zhuofan them, but she saw that they also passed out. Moreover, Zhuofan's situation was even more critical. A blood was dripping under him, and the blood was still pouring out of his mouth. Brother Zhuo, you wake up, wake up. Zhuofan moved his lips, but was completely speechless, barely raising an arm and pointing to the distance. But soon, he fell weakly again. Xuaningxiang looked in the direction he pointed, but saw that the blood infant was lying on the ground in a languishing manner. Around it, there is also a pool of blood. You asked me to bring it over. Zhuofan didn't have the strength to answer, just blinked slightly. So Xuaningxiang immediately understood and quickly brought the blood baby to Zhuofan, and put it on his chest as his eyes showed. Suddenly, the red blood of the languishing blood baby flashed, disappeared instantly, and entered Zhuofan's body. Blood, Zhuofan murmured hoarsely, thinking for a moment, and immediately took out a dagger and stroked it on his wrist. Then she immediately put her wrist to Zhuofan's mouth. Suddenly, Zhuofan raised his head violently, suddenly bit her wrist and sucked desperately. Xuaningxiang felt a pain in her wrist, but she insisted on clenching her teeth so that Zhuofan could fully absorb it. Thank you. Zhuofan finally got the strength to speak after being nourished by these blood. Xuaningxiang saw it and couldn't help smiling. Although she looks pale and weak now, this smile is so beautiful to Zhuofan. Thinking of his previous practice, he felt a little guilt in his heart. The thought moved in my heart. A stream of light flashed in Zhuofan's hand. Ninga, this is Sanpin Huxin pill. You feed me one, you eat one yourself, and then you go to see if the kid is dead. If not, give him one. Then she went to check Xie Tianyang's injury and saw that he was not dead. He woke up and turned around. He couldn't help being overjoyed and immediately fed him one. Although Zhuofan was lying still, everything in his heart was clear. Ninga, you are also injured, why not eat? All I have suffered is a minor injury, it doesn't bother me. This 3-pin elixir is quite expensive, let me leave it to you. There is nothing precious, even if Qianlong personally gives it, you still have to eat it. Ninga, you eat it, he owes you. Ninga, you don't know yet. Your big brother Zhuo will sacrifice you from the beginning, take you as a bait. He's a bear-like one now, and is considered self-serving. When Zhuofan said his plan, Xuaningxiang had already passed out in a thunderstorm, not at all clear. Hearing now, she couldn't help but look at Zhuofan. Zhuofan was only silent. For the first time, his 2 indifferent eyes dared not meet her. Ninga, Okay, you don't need to say anything. I know brother Zhuo has both wisdom and courage, and he has his own plans for everything. This must be a misunderstanding. After finishing, Xuaningxiang suddenly turned her head and ran to the distance. I'll pick up some branches and make 2 shelves for you. This is not a long-term place. Hey, Ninga, you just let him go? He is seriously injured now, he can't move. What do you want revenge will do? Shut up. If you want to die, I will do you now. You are heavier than me. I'm not afraid of you. Although he was not afraid in his words, he was still afraid. Because he has heard Zhuofan's words, the naked killing intention. After seeing Zhuofan playing against the 7 elders in the Nether Valley, he finally knew Zhuofan's terrible. Although they lost in this battle, they were able to force the 7 witches who made all the elders of the 7 families have a headache. He hates Zhuofan now, but also fears. A thunder exploded. Xuaningxiang tied 2 shelves with rattan and dragged on the muddy rain road. Even though the heavy rain had wet her all over, the The bumpy mountain road caused her to have fallen frequently because of the excessive blood loss and the weak. But she didn't care. Just like a robot, she climbed up and continued to drag forward. At the beginning, Xueningsiang was the weakest. Xie Tianyang proposed to leave her behind and let her die. Zhuo Fan went even further and said that he would not give up, and made a gesture of boring Yun Tian, but in fact betrayed the little girl as bait. But now, the two of them are seriously injured. I am afraid they will be a waste in a few months. But Xueningsiang really did not abandon or give up. A mountain rat suddenly burrowed out of the mound and ran to Xueningsiang. Back to Xueningsiang, the little guy was also very happy. He turned around under Xueningsiang's feet and suddenly ran in one direction. Seeing this, Xueningsiang knew that it was going to lead her, and immediately pulled Zhuofan and Xie Tianyang towards it. With a look of joy on his face, Xueningsiang looked back at the two and immediately pulled them into the cave. This time, they finally have a place where they can heal the rain. But Zhuofan looked around, but his face changed. You can't stay here, let's go. Xueningsiang froze, looking at Zhuofan puzzled. His eyes were staring straight at the purple weeds scattered all over the cave, and he said lightly, you see there, all are jiao grass. Jiao grass can relieve fatigue. It's good. Is there anything wrong? This is for human beings, but for spirit beasts, this anxiety grass has an anesthetic effect and will attract the spirit beasts around here. You mean, this is a trap, and this is a trap laid by the predator between the spirit beasts. The mountain rat was attracted and brought us to. You little thing is at a critical juncture. You can run through the hole yourself, but we are also involved. What use does I want you to have? Xie Tianyang gritted his teeth and sent all his anger to the little thing. Xueningsiang couldn't bear it, while holding it in his arms to appease, hesitating for a while, then said to Zhuofan, so what shall we do now? What time is it now? I don't know clearly. It should have been a day. The medicine effect of Yin Shi Dan has passed. I am afraid that the animals have been discovered as soon as we entered. Now, it is estimated that they are rushing here in batches. Xie Tianyang was shocked and almost dropped his chin. You said, in batches? As for all-powerful spirit beasts, they don't bother to engage in such tricks. Only low-level spirit beasts will lay such traps, and most of them are gregarious actions. The beasts roared loudly, screaming. In general, there are thousands of pairs. Bloodthirsty wolves. It's over, although the bloodthirsty residual wolf is a second-level spirit beast, but the number is large, and the wolf king is a third-level spirit beast. Even if they encounter them, even the fourth-level spirit beast dare not easily provoke. Even if they encounter them, even the fourth-level spirit beast dare not easily provoke. Xie Tianyang's arrogant, would actually die in such a place. It was really jealous. Xueningsiang is also sad, but Zhuofan is still calm. Xie Tianyang, you take the sword out and give it to Ninga. Even if my Yaoxing sword is a 4th-grade spirit soldier, but Ninga only has the strength to gather energy and 4 levels, but she can't beat those gangsters. She is not you, just gathering strength, but strength and forging bones. Tianqian masters are shoulder to shoulder, strong like monsters. Ninga didn't need to fight hard to get the sword, as long as he could break through. Ninga, you take this bottle of hidden pill. When you break through the encirclement, rely on it to leave the 10,000 Beast Mountains, but don't go home again, just go out of the city. Hearing this, Xie Tianyang looked startled, and then he understood Zhuofan's meaning. Both of them owe too much to Ninga. Now that they are in a mortal situation, there is really no need to drag her down. Thinking of this, he also thought about it, and took out the sipping Lingbing Yaoxing sword, which had always been inseparable. Xueningsiang pondered for a while, and rushed toward the hole with the golden sword. In this way, our kindness can also be paid off. Even if it is dead, it can be irrelevant. Xie Tianyang twitched his mouth and muttered, I don't care about feelings. Even if I die now, I still feel unwilling. However, I just don't want the girl to do anything for me, that's all. Ruthless and merciless. At this moment, a wailing suddenly sounded, and a splash of blood splashed onto their faces. The two couldn't help but look forward hurriedly, but at this moment, Xueningsiang was standing by the sword in the hole. Ninga, what are you doing? Xueningsiang swung the golden sword with a clatter. Another golden light flashed over and killed the 3 hungry wolves under the sword. Turned around and looked at Zhuofan's 2 people, showing a bright smile. Look, as long as I am here, they will not be able to enter. Fool, those who rushed up are cannon fodder, and the Wolf King will never care about their life and death. But you will be dragged to death by them. Xueningsiang grinned and shook his head carelessly. That Wolf King is just a beast and cannot care about the lives of its subordinates. But you are the first and second since I was born and the most important friend. I will not give up yours. With that, Xuening waved the golden sword again and beheaded the 2 hungry wolves who rushed up. Her face is now quite pale, and she is swaying in the wind, and she will fall down even the next moment. But her eyes were very firm, without fear. Looking deeply at the petite body, Zhuofan's eyes flickered, and there seemed to be a warm warmth swirling in his eyes. Suddenly closed his eyes. Zhuofan didn't want to see the scene in front again, took a deep breath, and his heart seemed to be bleeding again. I only found out now that the 2 of us were bastards. Suddenly, with a scream, Xuening was struggling with strength, and an inattentive bite was bitten by the arm holding the golden sword by a hungry wolf and threw her down. Then, another wolf pounced up, biting her other hand. She wanted to fight back, but she couldn't get up anymore. Zhuofan and Xie Tianyang had already guessed that this would be the result, but they still closed their eyes and did not visit her, because they don't want to see this girl being eaten by wolves. A wolf king 3 times larger than the other wolves walked slowly in front of Xuening, revealing a bloodthirsty light. After licking the 2 fangs in front of his mouth, the wolf king roared loudly and opened the big mouth of the blood. Suddenly, a tremendous roar came from the depths of the 10,000 Beast Mountains, and those bloodthirsty residual wolves, their eyes shrank, and they suddenly lost consciousness, and thousands of wolves fell down in a big swoop. Only the wolf king was shaking his body constantly, his eyes glowing with fear. But before waiting for it to run away, a cyan flame turned into a straight line and swept across the area in an instant. All the bloodthirsty residual wolf, after passing through the firelight, all turned into nothingness. But I do not know whether it was intentional or unintentional. Zhuofan 3 survived completely under this fire. Just 3 people, still sleeping. Zhuofan. In the dim, Zhuofan seemed to hear someone calling his name. This is a foggy place, I don't know where it is. But soon, he realized that he was not seriously injured. How am I able to walk? Suddenly, 2 blue flames ignited. Zhuofan suddenly turned to look there, only to see a figure in a blue robe standing between 2 firelights, and his blue robe seemed to be burning a blue flame. Are you calling Zhuofan? I heard those 2 little guys calling you so. Who are you? You don't need to know. This is my place, only I ask you. Zhuofan, what are you doing here in the Beast Mountains? Catch the spirit beast, refine the monster. What spirit beast? Level 6 spirit beast, Thunder Skylark. What do you want it to do? What else can the spirit beast do? Of course, to improve its strength. Suddenly, a loud noise rang out, and Zhuofan suddenly felt his head roar, exploding. At that moment, the man laughed loudly. Little guy, this is your space of consciousness. If you lie, I can easily detect it. This person was able to invade the consciousness space of others based on consciousness. Such strength has already gone beyond the scope of God's vision. Even, it has already surpassed the ordinary order. You are the Holy Land. Zhuofan took a deep breath and was surprised. You really are not an ordinary person, actually know the Holy Land, but also can spread out the ancient formation, sacrifice blood babies. Zhuofan was shocked, and what he did, this person was secretly monitoring, and even the blood babies knew. The ancestors of the blood demon ancestry are very old, and few people even know it in the sanctuary. Even if he is the Devil Emperor, if he had not obtained the secret record of the 9 serenities, he would not know these ancient records. What exactly are you? I said, you don't have the right to ask questions here. Why are you looking for Thunder Skylark? To be honest, I'm going to Luolei Gorge, looking for the remains of Heavenly Emperor. I need Thunder Skylark to help me stop the purple thunder there. He laughed out loud, and the excitement was overwhelming. Okay, that's great. It's a good place. You should go. As soon as the voice fell, the man suddenly disappeared, and then appeared in front of Zhuofan instantly. The man lightly touched Zhuofan's forehead with a finger, and in a moment, a blue flame flickered on his forehead. Little guy, the old man has a destiny with you. Give you a small gift, and hope to have the opportunity to help you in the future. You are looking for the Thunder Skylark, and it is 3,000 miles away from the 3rd area. Whether you can domesticate it depends on your ability. Zhuofan screamed and sat up suddenly. A dazzling ray of sunlight shot into the dark cave, causing his eyes to squint. He was surprised to find that he could move. Although it is still weak, but the injury has been healed most. I saw that the blood infant was lying on his dantian calmly, even though it was still depressed, but it was no longer as lifeless as before, and even the 2 small eyes had begun to shake slightly, and the eyes would wake come. Zhuofan was absolutely sure that the person who invaded his consciousness space last night was definitely a master who had broken away from Fan Jie. Otherwise, there would be no such supernatural powers, and he was cured of his injuries overnight, even the fatal injuries of blood babies. He still remembered clearly that the man was a bit on his forehead, as if something was left in his body. However, with his current strength, it is completely impossible to detect. In any case, The man saved himself. Even if there is any purpose, that will be the future. With his current strength, which master will have an idea for him? He found out that he sometimes thought too much. Now it is still a scum that gathers together 6 times, but it always cares about the hearts of the masters of the emperor ranks. Now his main goal is to improve his strength. Only with strong strength can you be qualified to instruct Jiangshan. Suddenly, a loud noise sounded. Zhuo Fan looked around. Xue Ningxiang was weakly falling in the pool of blood, so he hurried up, lifted her up, and fed her a protective heart pill. The girl's injury was only a skin trauma. It doesn't matter, mainly because she tried her best with the bloodthirsty wolves, and it would be like this when her strength was exhausted, and it would be fine for a few days of cultivation. Brother Zhu, are we all dead? Relax, we are all alive. Deception, your injury is so serious. How can you move? Xue Ningxiang's eyes narrowed, like a dream, said, but, great, we all died together. With that said, the little girl slept again in a daze. Zhuo Fan looked at her serene appearance without feeling soft in her heart, gently picked her up into the depths of the cave, and placed those worries around her. For humans, this is the best thing to relieve fatigue, and it is also good for her injuries. Then he came straight to Xie Tianyang, who was still unconscious, and his attitude was naturally less relaxed. Wake up. Zhuo Fan kicked him twice with his foot, but he shook his head and still refused to wake up. Seeing this scene, Zhuo Fan couldn't help but chuckled, kicked up and kicked his ass. Xie Tianyang's eyes were filled with tears, his lips were trembling, but his body could not move, murmured, "Where is this? I haven't done anything bad before I died. Why did I suffer this kind of thing? Even kicking you is considered torture. Then you are really the master of the Zhenhu mansion. Haven't you seen any big scenes? Hey, you kicked me. Why? We died together. Why can you sentence me? If we are all dead, all beings are equal. Unfortunately, we are all alive, and you cannot move, so, what, are we alive?" When he looked at the surrounding environment again, he laughed out loud, "Haha, that is the cave, we really live." But soon, he noticed something was wrong, raised his eyebrows. "If we are still alive, why can you move, and I can't move? Your injury is worse than lousy so many, and your cultivation is not as deep as mine. Why? With such a serious injury, only half of his life was left. How could it be so good within 2 days? Even if he is a 7-piece master of forging bone, he will never stand up in a month or 2. Of course I am a man, but the character is a little better than the average person." The spirit stones in the ring flew out one by one. Zhuo Fan placed an ancient level hidden array in front of the cave. In an instant, the entire cave disappeared into this mountain range, without even revealing a breath. Even if the 6th level spirit beast passes by, it is absolutely impossible to find it, as if there has never been a cave here. In this way, the 3 spent more than 3 months calmly together. During the period, Zhuo Fan's injury has fully recovered, and Xie Tianyang has recovered most of his time, and can use 70% of his strength. Xie Tianyang split the big rock with a sword, smiled at Xue Ningxiang in the distance. Xue Ningxiang clapped her hands and smiled red with excitement, and looked at Xie Tianyang's eyes as if she were a brother. "It's a strong sword. After the injury is estimated, you can break through the forging bone 8-fold realm. Don't you take the opportunity of injury to break through the 7th chi. Again, Zhuo Fan, what about your good eyesight? I'm about to break through, myself I don't know, do you want to say it? How come the 2 of you have been arguing as soon as you have seen each other in the past few months? Haven't you been like this before? Isn't that for you? When I thought of this kid who used Ninga as bait, I was so angry. Don't say quarrel, I want to beat him now." "Then you are not the same. Who first proposed to leave her behind and drag the hind legs of the 7 elders? I didn't know that Ninga was so good. If I knew it earlier, I can't bear it. Anyway, even if I take Ning, leaving it is better than sending her to Huku by yourself. I am a demon repairer, it's normal to be a little worse than you. A bit worse. You much worse than me. Don't quarrel between you 2, it's a thing of the past. I don't mind. Well, you still have to catch it. No, I just want to be fair to you." Xue Ningxiang came to Xie Tianyang well. Everyone is a friend of life and death, and the previous things will be cancelled. Xie Tianyang curled his lips and stretched out reluctantly. Zhuo Fan stretched out indifferently. The 3 fingers are put together. The 3 people have different expressions, but suddenly, a warm current is suddenly wandering between the 3 hearts. It is more difficult to get a confidant in life, not to mention the relationship between life and death. Starting today, the 3 of them did not abandon, never give up in life and death, such friendship. Zhuo Fan pondered, I am afraid it will be difficult to meet again in this life. I still have many things to do in this life. Retracting each of the 3 fingers. Since everyone has recovered from the injury now, let's go our separate ways. Sorry, I was wrong. I was leaving. Xie Tianyang, Ninga let me take her out of the city. I'm afraid I can't do it. You can help me take her away. Brother Zhuo, where are you going? The 3rd area. Xie Tianyang and Xuaningxiang were both shocked and puzzled. In the beginning, I was going to the 3rd area to avoid the elders of the 7. Why do you want to go now? It's true not to hide. The 3rd area was originally my goal this time. Letting you follow together at the beginning, in fact, also means to use. His mother, you also want to use me as a bait. Yes, if you don't want to die, just leave immediately. Especially, the farther away from me, the better. Wait. Suddenly, Xuaningxiang hurried away, grabbing Zhuofan's arm. Brother Zhuo, if you don't think I'm cumbersome, take me with you. Even if it's a bait, as long as it can help you, I am willing to. Hey, Ninga, this kid is unreliable. No one in Qingming City was willing to help me. Only you were. Didn't we say we'd always be together? It seemed that only Zhuofan had no choice but to sigh and put his hands on their hands. Are you going to follow? Yeah. Xie Tianyang said weakly, but don't get me wrong, I'm not going to help you, but I'm afraid you will sell Ninga again. Depending on how I feel, I might use you as bait. What did you say? This sentence is just a joke in Zhuofan's heart. He now regards these 2 as more important than anyone else. The 3rd area of the 10,000 Beasts Mountains, with dense forests and overcast sky, is full of ferocious roars and miserable wails of spirit beasts. All 3 of Zhuofan were lying on the ground and crawling forward, hiding their tracks with the grass around them. Grandma, when you climb like this, when will you get there? Keep going. After traveling for a long time, the 3 men climbed out for 10 kilometers. Xie Tianyang gasped for breath and sat up violently. He waved his hand and said, I'm not climbing anymore, it's too shameful. Besides, how can it be so easy to meet a 5th-level spirit beast? Fool, get down quickly, it's too late to meet. What does it matter? The trees are tall and grassy, so why would a beast see us? Perhaps in response to his disdain, just when his voice fell, a loud roar suddenly sounded in the ears of the 3. A black bear over 10 feet tall and with muscles all over his body suddenly appeared in front of the 3 people. When the black bear saw the food in front of him, he could not help shouting in excitement, exposing sharp fangs, and his eyes were full of bloodthirsty colors. But before the black bear pounced on the 3 of them, a thick bucket-like long tail suddenly rolled up its huge body. Immediately after, but when a wailing sounded, the bear was suddenly thrown into the sky. When it fell, a large mouth of blood basin suddenly appeared, swallowing it into his belly. 5-level spirit beast, King Kong crested python. Zhuofan immediately yelled, and took the lead to continue to crawl forward, while the other 2 hurried to keep up. Even Xie Tianyang, at this moment, is no longer wordy and crawls faster than anyone else. Grandma, Zhuofan, I must have been kicked by a donkey before I promised you to come to such a ghost place. Now he almost cried out almost. Zhuofan snorted and said in a cruel way, no one wants you to come, or else, you crawl back. Since Larotsu has already boarded your thief ship, they are all driving so far away, you are now kicking Larotsu. Isn't it clear that I want to die? Zhuofan laughed dumbly and glanced at Xuaningxiang, but shook his head helplessly. After that, Zhuofan and the 3 men prowled during the day, and set up formations at night to prevent the attack of nocturnal spirit beasts. In this way, in the past 1 month, the 3 of them finally crawled for 3,000 miles, and their limbs and waist were sore and sore. After a long stretch of relaxation, Zhuofan exhaled a turbid breath and felt a lot of relaxation. Seeing Xie Tianyang, he could not help standing up carefully, and said softly, Here, can I stand up? I was crawling and advancing before, I was afraid that many spirit beasts would see it and have too many eyes and ears. But here is the territory of the 6th-level spirit beasts. It is better for us to stand up and hide than to lie down. So, is it safer here than before? It can be said, but we will die faster when we meet the 6th-level spirit beast. Since the 6th-level spirit beast is so terrible, what are you looking for it to do? Conquer the spirit pet. Can you do it? In fact, he had already thought about this. Since he dared to come to the 3rd area of the 10,000 Beast Mountains, he had a way to conquer the 6th-level spirit beast. As long as he feeds the bloodworm to the thunderlark, it will be easier to handle. The question is, how to feed it. A loud noise suddenly sounded throughout the mountain forest. They had never heard such a loud noise. Even the battle of 2 level 5 spirit beasts could not make such a fierce noise. Unless, 6th-level spirit beast. It seems that direction. Zhuofan hurried to find there. You really want to go, get involved by two spirit beasts. The bones are incomplete. If one of the two spirit beasts that is fighting is really a thunder skylark, he can't ask for it. The so-called snipe fighting for the fisherman's profit, this is his great opportunity. Xuaningxiang didn't say much. Xie Tianyang had no choice but to follow him. The three of them walked all the way, and even saw the thunderous thunder in the sky. Them clung to their heads behind a huge rock. In front of their eyes, two spirits were flying in the sky, and they saw that their surging momentum was undoubtedly the 6th level. Thunder Skylark and Red Flame Lion King. The man in the dark said that he didn't lie to me. The Thunder Lark's nest is right here. Zhuofan's brow furrowed, and his heart didn't feel tight. Although the Red Flame Lion King belongs to level 6, its strength is already comparable to that of level 7 Spirit Beast. This Thunder Skylark really suffered from this beast. This time, the Thunder Skylark is likely to be defeated and finally bitten to death by the lion. Isn't his plan to conquer the Thunder Skylark soaked in? No, I must help it. Brother Zhuofan, can you find a way to help that little bird? The bird would rather be beaten than leave, not to fight for the territory, but to protect its children. Child! Zhuofan's brow flickered, and then looked forward. Sure enough, on a pile of rocks under the Thunder Skylark, there was a bird's nest with a radius of 1 meter, and 5 giant eggs lay quietly in it. Now he finally understands why Thunder Skylark has been passively beaten. It stands to reason that although the Red Flame Lion King is powerful, the speed of the Thunder Skylark is also amazing. Even if you can't fight it, you can always dodge. However, it was frequently caught by the Lion King and hit hard, hitting all over the body with injuries. Not to mention our strength, we can't participate in it at all. On the battle between the 6th level spirits and beasts, it is no longer a simple engulfment between beasts, but a struggle for territory and status. Even if it is placed in a human race, no one is right or wrong, and no one is more pitiful. We don't need to fight for them. Ninga, you can rest assured that your brother Zhuo will get this bird out of trouble. Hypocrite, when have you been so kind? Xie Tianyang, you don't know me anymore. Actually, I am still very caring. Wait a minute, I still need you to help me. If you are loving, Lao Tzu is a saint. I know, your goal is this Thunder Skylark. You have been so smart with me for so long. I'm relying on it. Sure enough, Lao Tzu was almost used by you again. If you really want to conquer the Thunder Skylark, go by yourself, don't call me. Zhuofan could not help shrugging, looked helplessly to Xuaningxiang aside. Xuaningxiang nodded and took Xie Tianyang's arm with a pleading expression, shaking. Brother Tianyang, go with Brother Zhuo. How poor that bird and its children are. That bird is pitiful. Look at that bird with 1 wing, it will wipe us out. What pity. Why don't you pity my brother? With a sad face, Xie Tianyang had no choice but to nod and agree. Zhuofan, be careful with me. If you dare to sell me, I will never let you go. Relax, what am I? People, if you want to sell it, it will be sold very thoroughly. You have no chance to retaliate with me. What? Xie Tianyang exclaimed. Zhuofan laughed, patted his shoulder, appeased, and then dragged him secretly into the direction of the bird's egg. The thunder and flame collide violently, causing the valley to tremble and the huge stones fall one after another. What shall we do next? Now the Thunder Skylark hasn't paid attention to this place, we secretly moved the egg and hid it. When it finds out, it will definitely not fight with the lion again, it's hurry to find its children. At its speed, the lion can't catch up with us, we are equal to saving his life. That's what it is. Good idea. Zhuofan chuckled, and then motioned him to carry the big bird's nest with himself. At this moment, the sky was crackling, but the 2 thieves on the ground were stealing the whole nest of eggs, and nobody found it. Kaiyang Lion King suddenly rose to a height, pulling away from the Thunder Skylark. Zhuofan, who was transporting the dome, felt that the shadow above his head suddenly became larger, and there was no sound of collision between thunder and fire. He couldn't help but stopped, and looked up. No, the beast found it, run away. But this egg. Zhuofan ignored Xie Tianyang's consternation and threw out a nest of eggs. Thunder Skylark was shocked and looked down, but she saw that all 5 of her children had been dropped to the ground and yelled in excitement. The flames spit from the Red Flame Lion King. The goal was not the Thunder Skylark, but the 5 giant eggs on the ground. Boom! The Thunder Skylark flew like lightning and used her body to block the fireball. It knew that the Thunder Skylark was fast as lightning, which proved it difficult to land a heavy blow. But those eggs couldn't move and were the perfect means to cripple the Thunder Skylark's speed. Attacking what one defended was the best plan. Not good. The Flaming Lion King laughed in glee and spat another ball of flame. Thunder Skylark used her lightning to stop it. Darting back to Xuaningxiang, Zhuofan sighed. We made it worse. We hastened the Thunder Skylark's end. Let's go. If we wait for Thunder Skylark to die, the crazy lion will come after us. She stood rooted to the spot. Let it go, Ninga. We need to leave. Watching the Thunder Skylark darting to and fro as tears fell down her cheeks. After fending off 24 fireballs, the Thunder Skylark let out a mournful cry and fell tired and wounded in a large crater. The flaming Lion King charged with its claw aiming for the bird's throat. Xueningsiang broke away from the two's grasp and rushed to defend the Thunder Skylark. Ninga, I will accompany you in death. Xie Tianyang roared as he threw himself in front of her. Both forgot that they would soon be 2 more corpses added to the pile, that it wouldn't make a difference. Even Zhuo Fan lost his calculative mind. Zhuo Fan flashed in front of the two, but his eyes were fixed on the flaming Lion King. He was the demonic emperor. Even in death, he would stare down his enemy. But just when the claw was about to touch Zhuo Fan's face, an azure flame came out of Zhuo Fan's forehead and a shocking power shrouded the entire All-Beast mountain range. The spiritual beasts were left shivering and lowered their proud heads. Flaming Lion King stopped its claw and watched the swaying flame as it trembled in fear. The azure flame was as small as a candle's, flickering in the wind in front of Zhuo Fan's forehead. It then took back its claw and sped away in the form of a ball of fire. It scampered off with speed rather than dignity, so much so that it was even close to falling at some point. A 6th-level spiritual beast, a king in the All-Beast mountain range, was now fleeing like a kitty while trembling from every joint. Frowning, Zhuo Fan touched his forehead, but the azure flame had already hidden inside. He only felt a faint warmth and concluded that it was connected to the expert who had appeared in his consciousness and touched him there. Hey, Zhuo Fan, Xie Tianyang shook his arm as he questioned. Be honest with me, are you absolutely positive that you are human? Cut the crap. What else would I be, a demon? Zhuo Fan slapped Xie Tianyang's hand away. I've never seen a human scare a 6th-level spiritual beast with just a look. Xie Tianyang took deep breaths to calm down and continued. Did you see how scared it was when it saw you? As if afraid you would eat it whole. As brothers, you owe me an explanation. How many secrets are you hiding? Zhuo Fan rolled his eyes, then turned to Xueningsiang. We were never brothers. Coming next to Xueningsiang, they saw her tear-stained face as she looked at the Thunder Skylark. It won't make it. Zhuo Fan sent his Yuan Qi to check its state, then sighed. Big brother Zhuo, can you help her? Xueningsiang looked at him with teary eyes, but he could only sigh. Xueningsiang began crying her heart out, tears falling down the Thunder Skylark's face. The bird opened its eyes and looked elsewhere. It wants her young. Let's go find them. Xueningsiang cried. But the egg was burnt black. Zhuo Fan and Xie Tianyang searched around and soon gathered 4 scorched and lifeless eggs. Wasn't there one more? Xueningsiang nervously asked. The two shook their heads. The last one was lost. They couldn't find it anywhere. Xueningsiang was sorrowful, kneeling before the Thunder Skylark as she sobbed, Forgive us, we are the ones who hurt you. From below her, the last egg rolled out. It was intact but still had a few scorch marks on it. Despite being forced to run around by the flaming Lion King, it knew what it had to do. It made sure to protect one egg without anyone knowing, and when it collapsed, it used its body to hide the egg. So that even if it was killed, the egg would survive. It gave its life to protect its young. With a cry, the Thunder Skylark stared at Zhuo Fan, or, more specifically, his forehead. Then it turned to its egg with a hopeful gaze. You want me to take it? Zhuo Fan assumed. It nodded, eyes filled with warmth for the egg. It is badly burnt and, even if it hatches, it won't live for long. Unless, he whispered the rest into the Thunder Skylark's ear. It was first startled, then nodded in gratitude. Turning to her young, the Thunder Skylark closed her eyes in peace. She could now rest easy knowing Zhuo Fan would look after it. Xueningsiang saw its life fade away and was crying her heart out. Zhuo Fan and Xie Tianyang sighed. They didn't foresee her being so compassionate even towards a spiritual beast. They would, at most, hold some respect, but never be so heartbroken about it. Ninga, it won't come back. Don't feel too sad about it. I never knew you'd be so compassionate towards this Thunder Skylark just after meeting it once. Xie Tianyang laughed dryly and scratched his head, not knowing how to comfort the girl. You guys misunderstood. It is a sad birdie, but I'm not crying for it. I was reminded of my home. Her appearance made me recall my dad protecting me every step of the way, taking care of me. It seems this girl was reminiscing. No wonder she was so touched. Since it's not for the bird, then I will take the Thunder Skylark's body. Zhuo Fan felt awkward as he stashed the body in his ring. Xie Tianyang, however, was aflame in anger. Hey, why do you get to have a whole 6th-level spiritual beast's body? A spiritual beast was a treasure in and of itself. The 6th level spiritual beast bodies, in particular, made for great refining materials. Even the 7 houses seldom got such an item, and Xie Tianyang regarded it greatly. Looking askance at him, Zhuofan stated, "You saw it giving me its egg. Its body is the same. You stay here with Ninga, I'll be right back." He left before Xie Tianyang could argue. Xie Tianyang wanted to follow Zhuofan, but seeing Ninga, he stayed. He was worried for her safety. Leaving her all alone in the woods was not wise. Though it made little difference if he was there too. In a secluded spot, Zhuofan took out the egg, the thunder skylark's body, and some black rocks. He began circulating his yuan qi and his hand burned scarlet. These rocks were very rare even with all the spatial rock mines in control of the 7 houses and the imperial family. But thanks to Veiled Dragon Pavilion and imperial family endorsing the Luo clan, he got his hand on a few. As spiritual beasts were nurtured by the spiritual energy of the world, they were the best ingredient for refining items. And right now, he was planning on refining a beast holding ring. Furthermore, it could even store spiritual energy. Case in point, this egg came from the Thunder Skylark, and its spiritual energy would help it recover. If not for this, Zhuofan was unsure if he could even hatch it. Now that the Thunder Skylark was dead, he desperately needed to hatch the egg and make it his demonic creature in order to enter the Lightning Canyon. For this, Zhuofan spoke a few words to the dying Thunder Skylark. And it agreed once it knew its broken body could help her young live. Either way, this was Zhuofan's way of showing his respect for the mother. Also, he would have taken this course of action regardless of her decision. Zhuofan pointed and the flame towered, fusing the ingredients with high-speed hand signs and a smile of satisfaction. He was close to fulfilling his objective. In the dead of night, stars glittered. Xuaningxiang and Xie Tianyang watching them bored out of their mind. A sound broke the silence and Zhuofan appeared next to them. Xuaningxiang ran to him in glee. Xie Tianyang looked him up and down. "What did you do with the corpse?" Zhuofan was blunt. "Tore it in 8 and used it." Xie Tianyang rushed to placate her. "Ninga, it's all right. The bodies of spiritual beasts are handled like this. But I don't know what he refined using it. If you can guess what it is, I'll give it to you. Guess it right and you will give it. I don't need your stuff. I'll tell you. I Xie Tianyang will not thank you even in death, even if I die here in the mouth of beast. I'll never accept a thing from you, Zhuofan. Yes, thank you master for your kindness. Don't look away when author people are talking. Hey, did you know today is Ninga's 16th birthday? She was reminded of her family when the Thunder Skylark protected her egg and it made her cry. Since it's her birthday, then I will give her a present. Zhuofan revealed a ring that had lightning running across it. Then he took Xuaningxiang's hand and inserted the ring on her finger. This is the storage ring I refined from the Thunder Skylark, Thunder Ring. I have one and you the other. They both are made as one, and are connected with each other. This ring is different from other storage rings. Not only the refining techniques are complicated, you won't also find these anywhere. It can be stored. Xuaningxiang was overjoyed inside and blushed as she extended her fist with the ring on it. Zhuofan did the same with his hand and the 2 rings let out crackling sounds. Ring one for her, and one for him. Set love tokens. Xie Tianyang was filled with envy and roared, "Zhuofan, give me one too." Zhuofan deadpanned, "Is it your damn birthday too?" "No, but you have to give me one. Or, the 2 of you, a pair of rings." Xie Tianyang's face burned hot. He no longer cared about the value of the thunder ring. Zhuofan then tossed him a ring. Seeing through him, Zhuofan sighed inwardly. "We've been through thick and thin together, so of course, I have one for you. I'll accept it since you're sincere." Xie Tianyang put it on in glee then made a fist bump with Xuaningxiang. "Just now, who said that they didn't want my stuff, even in death?" The 2 began quarreling while Xuaningxiang stood content at the side with a smile. Absent-mindedly looking at the thunder ring, she wished the time would stop so that the 3 of them would stay worry-free. But 10,000 miles out, a huge bird had its eye on each and every movement of theirs. Blue flames wreathed its body and with every flap of its wings, it flew deeper into the Allbeast mountain range. The trio returned to the second area using the same method as before. Then they soon arrived at the first area. All that's left is to leave Blue Expanse City and we'll be safe. Although he didn't obtain the Thunder Skylark, he earned much more, its egg and 2 dear friends in life and death moments. But we offended the 7th Elder. Won't he set a trap for us? Unlikely. Zhuofan stated, he must have spared our lives because another greater danger was looming overhead forcing him to flee. He must be thinking we've died at the hands of that scary thing. Thing? What thing? Xie Tianyang asked. Zhuofan only shook his head. He was out like a light at that time and was unclear what happened. But when he woke up he saw the destruction around him and came to this conclusion. Zhuo Fan smiled. Ninga, what will you do after we leave? Big brother Zhuo, I'll just go with you. Xie Tianyang became flustered and said, Ninga, how about you come with me to Sword Marquis's abode? Not only will your clansmen not come for you, but even Hell Valley's people wouldn't be able to take you from us. Xue Ningxiang happily nodded. All right, big brother Zhuo, why don't you also come? I've never seen the strong 7 noble houses of the Tianyu Empire. Xie Tianyang wasn't too pleased about it, but since Ninga was happy he also relented. Zhuo Fan, for Ninga, I will extend an invitation to visit my house as a guest. I cannot. I have other places to be. If fortune smiles, we will see each other again. The two were startled and hesitant about parting. Hey, I truly welcome you to my house. Think of your brother, me, and come. Though Xie Tianyang and Zhuo Fan were like fire and water, arguing every day, they went through hell together and came out as brothers. Zhuo Fan snickered. I already said, we aren't brothers. Sigh, how can you? A crack was heard and a sudden pressure pushed down on them. No one is allowed to leave. A black figure appeared with long black and white hair. His long goatee fluttered in the wind, and his eyes flashed as they landed on the trio. Profound heaven expert, Zhuo Fan and Xie Tianyang were startled and protected Xue Ningxiang with their bodies. Is it an elder from Hell Valley? I've never seen him. The way this old man is looking at us. It's as if he would devour us at any moment. What was certain though, this old man wanted to wring them dry. But then, Xue Ningxiang jumped out from between them and walked cautiously towards the man. Grandfather, your Xue clan's only profound heaven expert, Xue clan's patriarch, Xue Dingtian. Ninga, where did you run off these months? I looked all over for you. Sorry for worrying you, grandfather. Xue Dingtian sighed and tousled his dear grandchild's hair, then spat. Did any of these runts misbehave? Grandpa, what are you saying? Humph, then all is good. Xue Dingtian rolled his eyes over Zhuo Fan and Xie Tianyang. Who was it that hurt my grandson? Xue Gang? Him. Xie Tianyang didn't miss a beat in exposing Zhuo Fan. I only met Ninga after. I never saw your grandson. Rolling his eyes, Zhuo Fan could only blame his poor luck in friends. I didn't know he was Ninga's brother, so, please forgive the offense, senior. Then, you eloped with Ninga? Xue Dingtian questioned Zhuo Fan. What, elope? Xie Tianyang cried with a start and grabbed Zhuo Fan by the clothes. Zhuo Fan, explain it to me. Since when were you so close with Ninga? Xue Dingtian glanced at Xie Tianyang and turned towards his granddaughter. Who is that kid, to be even more pissed than me? Xue Ningxiang glared at her grandpa, then hid her flaming cheeks with her hands. Grandpa is getting old. How could he mention something like that out of the blue? She was complaining inside, but her eyes sneaked a peek at Zhuo Fan. Wait, don't misunderstand. I only asked Ninga to show me the way and nothing else. Xue Dingtian stared down Zhuo Fan, but seeing no lies, he spoke. Good, in that case, I won't be hard on you on account on your time with my granddaughter. Come, Ninga, let's go home. Xue Dingtian pulled her. But Xue Ningxiang turned to the two behind her. Wait, Zhuo Fan shouted. Xue Dingtian spoke in a cold tone. Is there something else, runt? You can't take Ninga, said Zhuo Fan with a stony expression, and I advise you don't return either. Xue Dingtian frowned. What do you mean by that? I'll be frank. We offended the 7th elder of Hell Valley, and he recognized Ninga. I can guess he's now getting rowdy in the Xue clan. If you go back now, you will die. Xue Dingtian was startled, then looked to see Xue Ningxiang nodding shyly. As if thunderstruck, Xue Dingtian trembled and stumbled backward before falling. Xue Dingtian tightened his fist as rage swallowed his heart. Then his killing intent-filled eyes landed on Zhuo Fan and Xie Tianyang. It's you who brought this disaster upon us. As long as I take you to the 7th elder, he will spare us. Saying so, he slapped towards Zhuo Fan. Zhuo Fan's foot moved a bit, making 2 of his phantoms appear near him. Then they immediately retreated in different directions. Xue Dingtian scattered the 3 retreating figures to dust with a wave of his hand, but the real one wasn't among them. The next moment, Zhuo Fan came from behind Xue Dingtian and attacked with a bloody hand. Startled, Xue Dingtian felt his blood vessels boil. He now felt it on his own skin why his son and grandson had lost. Xue Dingtian vanished before the blood palm could hit him, shocking Zhuo Fan. Too bad he wasn't in the profound heaven stage like the old man. At the same instant, a powerful strike came from behind, and Zhuo Fan, who was unable to dodge in time, spat blood while flying. As he looked at the approaching sword, the sky seemed to have calmed and he could only see the glittering sword moving. Profound ranked martial art? Xue Dingtian moved his foot slightly and disappeared, only to attack from Xie Tianyang's side with a palm. Xie Tianyang spattered blood and flew due to the impact. It was thanks to his spiritual armor that he wasn't heavily wounded. That brief exchange from before lasted but a breath and the outcome was a foregone conclusion. The two couldn't even touch a profound heaven expert. Don't blame me. It's your fault to mess with the wrong guy. It's coming. Stop, cried Xue Ningxiang. Xue Dingtian turned towards his granddaughter and was startled to see her in tears with a dagger at her neck. Xue Ningxiang spoke between sobs. Grandpa, let them go, they're my friends. If I do, then our Xue clan will be no more. Xue Dingtian stepped towards Zhuo Fan with hatred and killing intent. Grandpa, take one more step and I will be leaving this world before you. Xue Ningxiang nervously pushed the dagger closer to her throat. Don't. Xie Tianyang was frightened, but Xue Dingtian gnashed his teeth and pressed on. However, Zhuo Fan noticed the tears in the old man's eyes. Ha ha, Xue Dingtian, you've gotten senile. You think taking us to the seventh elder will save Xue clan? It will only hasten your downfall. What are you saying? Xue Dingtian stopped and stared at Zhuo Fan. Zhuo Fan turned to Xie Tianyang. Do you know who this is? He's from Sword Marquis's abode. By handing him over to the Hell Valley, you will make one of the 7 houses into your enemy. Do you think you can handle their wrath and prevent the downfall of your second-rate clan? Impossible. You are trying to play me. I would have known by now if someone from Sword Marquis's abode came to Blue Expanse City. 7 noble houses' disciples wander the world, so why should they report to you? Clear those muddy eyes of yours and take a closer look at his spiritual weapon, his martial art. Are they common? Even in the 7 houses, such a masterful disciple is rare. You want to take us back to Hell Valley when it's uncertain if they'll even accept us. But if they do, will the Sword Marquis's abode just let you go? Then who will be gonna be the scapegoat? Young masters, forgive this old man's rash behavior. I was blind to young master's identity. Xue Dingtian squeezed through clenched teeth and crouched before them to kowtow 3 times. Everyone was dumbfounded, while Zhuo Fan just took it all in with a critical eye. If you want to save Ningge, show off your status. Zhuo Fan whispered, to which Xie Tianyang nodded with a bit of startle. Grandfather, get up. Xue Ningxiang had never seen her grandfather so humiliated and rushed to help him up. But then Zhuo Fan yelled, who told you to get up? Xue Dingtian shivered and was back on his knees with a red face. Zhuo Fan strutted before the old man and said in a clipped tone, do you know of our young master's eminent identity in the house? You hurt him today and us, the Sword Marquis's abode, will not let this go unpunished. Yes, I was ignorant in my offense. Xue Dingtian hung his head which was already full of cold sweat. Then we will take Ningge. If you want to get her back, have the Xue clan or Hell Valley come for her at Sword Marquis's abode. Wait. Zhuo Fan was about to leave when Xue Dingtian grabbed his ankle. It doesn't matter if Ningge offended the 7th elder, but she cannot leave. Or the Xue clan will be dead for good. I cannot accept it even if it means offending Sword Marquis's abode's young masters. Does Hell Valley have something else? Maybe. Ningge she was. Zhuo Fan's eyes flashed with killing intent. He snatched Xie Tianyang's star sword and stabbed at the old man's chest. No. Xue Ningxiang panicked and threw herself before Xue Dingtian, stopping Zhuo Fan's attack just in time. Damnable and crazy punk. Xie Tianyang came to and took his sword. I thought you were just scaring the old man, not being serious. He is Ningge's grandfather. Zhuo Fan spoke coldly. If you were to choose who dies, who will you pick among the two? Xue Dingtian, what do you need Ningge for? Zhuo Fan spoke harshly. I know that young masters like my granddaughter, but she is already betrothed to Hell Valley's young master. When she is 16 years of age, I will have to take her to them. Because of this, she has tried to run from home so many times. With how the time is nearing its end, if I don't take her, our whole clan will perish. Xie Tianyang asked, Ningge, is this why you ran away? Xue Ningxiang nodded sadly. Zhuo Fan watched Xue Dingtian's wrinkled face for any lies but found none. So even you do not know for sure. If it's marriage then it's fine, but what? Xie Tianyang snapped, Ningge can't marry some random guy from Hell Valley. Come, follow brother to Sword Marquis's abode. Xue Tianyang, this marriage is fake. Zhuo Fan shot him a glance then spoke to Xue Dingtian. If it was about Hell Valley's marriage they would have come for her ages ago. But have you seen any girl getting married off to them coming back alive? Xue Dingtian pondered then shook his head. Hell Valley is one of the 7 houses, with proper rules and manners. Marrying with our second-rate clan already deserves heartfelt gratitude. What other reason can there be? She is ready to be wed to someone, and it's no longer our place to ask. That's exactly what they want. Zhuo Fan cackled. If I were to tell you that all the girls who got married to the Hell Valley's people died, what will you do? Will you still let Ninga go? What? Impossible. Xue Dingtian refuted. Why would they do that? We've always been loyal to them. It is because you are so devoted that they chose you to raise a cauldron. Everyone asked in shock. What cauldron? There are some demonic cultivators who train in a cultivation method that utilizes ghosts of the people dying gruesome deaths. But too heavy grievance would lead to an imbalance in the yin and yang. This would increase the risk of oneself getting devoured by the ghosts. Therefore, the purest soul is needed as a foundation to train in it. And 16-year-old maidens are the best materials. You're saying they want Ninga to train some art? Xie Tianyang looked at Xue Ningxiang with worry. Most likely. Do you remember the 7th Elder's martial art? That profound ranked martial art wasn't trained to completion and was weak because the cauldron was lacking. You think he'd go easy on us on purpose? They all gasped at the cruelty of Hell Valley, which was using people as materials to practice arts. Ninga. Xue Dingtian turned serious as he said, if what this young master said is true, it's best if you leave. Don't worry, I'll go back and find out the truth. If it isn't like what this young master said, then I will come back to get you and proceed with the marriage. He ruffled her hair and flew away. Watching his departing figure, Xue Ningxiang sniffed in tears. Big brother Zhuo, will my grandfather be all right? I'm sorry, if he doesn't return, your clan still might live for a while. But now, all of them will die. Xue Ningxiang was shocked to the core and tears never stopped falling. Hey, you're not that damn insidious demon's match in reading people, so how can you say they'll all die if he returns? I think a profound heaven expert would make the insidious demon think twice. That is where you're wrong. I may not be as sharp as him when it comes to picking up one's intentions, but we are all humans, and I can tell a thing or two of his actions. First, we offended him, and since he determined the identity of Xue Ningxiang during our fight, he would think that the Xue clan betrayed Hell Valley. He is bound to kill them to the last woman and child. But at that time, old man Xue came to find Ninga. In this case, until he knew the whereabouts of the profound heaven expert, he would keep them alive to draw your grandfather. Once old man Xue returns, there will be nothing holding him back. Bullshit. A profound heaven expert is an elder in the 7 houses. I don't believe he has such nerve to slaughter a profound heaven expert's entire clan. Exactly because Xue clan has a profound heaven expert, he would wait for Xue Dingtian to return before wiping them all off. In addition, you're wrong about something. A profound heaven expert is not strong at all, but a free one is. Why do you think he kneeled before us? He didn't do it for the 2 of us, but for the sword marquis's abode behind you. He didn't kneel for himself either, but for the Xue clan. If he were a rogue cultivator, free of responsibility, killing us would be a matter of fact. But Zhuo Fan's words stabbed Xue Ningxiang's frail heart like a dagger. Brother Zhuo, I know what you said is reasonable. Tell me then, if I go back as a cauldron, can I save my clan? Xie Tianyang was appalled. Ninga, don't. Zhuo Fan looked her in the eye, but all he saw was an unwavering will and nodded. Even the magnificent and grand 7th Elder of Hell Valley has no other way to train in that martial art. From this, it is obvious how much the Hell Valley lacks cauldrons. Doing this is likely to work, but there is no but as long as it works. Xue Ningxiang waved. Brother Zhuo, big brother Tianyang, thank you for taking care of me these past months. We shall part ways, just that. Xue Ningxiang sniffed. I've never once gone outside the city, never seen Sword Marquis's abode. It's my only regret. She waved with a smile and left. Xie Tianyang's eyes were tinted red. They both knew what this girl was about to do. Ninga, please don't try to use force. I know I am not your match, but I will hate you for all my life and will never listen to you 2 again. Xie Tianyang fell to his knees and watched her distancing figure in pain. I know that I'm being stubborn. Although I don't have the chance to repay you now, allow me to do so in our next life. Farewell brother Zhuo Fan. Hey, Zhuo Fan, Ninga left. Can she save Xue clan? He asked gloomily. For some time. Zhuo Fan shook his head, his face serene. Once Ninga's use as cauldron expires, Xue clan would have outlived its usefulness. Why did you let her leave then? Xie Tianyang bit his lip until he drew blood as his words were spoken with an edge. Zhuo Fan stared him in the eye. At least Ninga will leave this world at peace, believing her clan will be kept safe. Bastard. Xie Tianyang stood up and punched Zhuo Fan's face and sent him 10 meters flying. You betrayed Ninga again. What are you going to do? Zhuo Fan wiped the blood from his mouth and stood up. I'm going to save her. Xie Tianyang was dead serious. Just you. Zhuo Fan jabbed. How can a bone-tempering cultivator fight against a profound heaven expert? You saw what happened just now. You know the difference between the bone-tempering stage and profound heaven stage. It's not just about being unable to fly but also about speed. So what? Tightening his fists, Xie Tianyang spat. It's better than doing nothing like you. We clearly had the chance to end that insidious demon last time. Last time we had the element of surprise and an array in place. In an array, no matter how fast he is, we can deal with him. But how will I set an array now? Are you telling me to set one right under his nose, then ask him to kindly step inside? Xie Tianyang understood the meaning behind Zhuo Fan's words but couldn't accept his manner. Ningguo fought through life and death with them and now Zhuo Fan was just going to sit there and do nothing. Zhuo Fan, I always knew there was no worth in trusting you. But as a man, good or bad, they are duty-bound to fulfill their promise. You promised to take Ningguo out, and if you don't, you'll be nothing more than a coward. If you go you can only watch, powerless to do anything. I will still go. I would rather die than be a coward. Watching Xie Tianyang chasing Ningguo, Zhuo Fan tightened his fists and muttered, who said I'm any different? In a cave, 15 minutes later, Zhuo Fan set up a concealing array then drew an odd pattern on the ground and placed spirit stones at key locations. I would never have thought that there would be a day where I would be forced to use this dangerous, self-destructive method. But this was also the only way he could improve his strength in a short time. If he wasn't stronger than that cunning and deceitful insidious demon, his success wasn't certain. With his heart at peace, his eyes filled with resolve, Zhuo Fan made a hand sign. In an instant, the strange pattern shined brightly and started to churn. The amalgamation of heaven and hell has been refined. Once a person uses this method, they can merge the refined materials into their body, resulting in a body made out of Jin Gang. After everything is complete, their body will be indestructible, which makes them invincible. However, the merging process is incredibly harsh and dangerous. While merging the devil's treasure into their body, it feels as if thousands of swords are stabbing into every inch of their flesh. This is over 10,000 times more painful than Ling Kai. Ling Kai is also known as death by 1,000 cuts. This is a method of torture execution where a knife is used to remove parts of the body over an extended period of time. Just one small mistake will result in the very soul of the person disintegrating. The sand acted like minute needles boring through his muscles and drawing blood. Inside and out will be completely destroyed and replaced with this Jin Gang sand. That way, after everything is over, my body can be perfected both on the inside and the outside without destroying it. However, this suffering is not something that humans can withstand. If it weren't for saving Ningguo, no matter how powerful this method is, I wouldn't even think about using it. It's just too dangerous. After 2 long hours, his muscles were broken down to the last fragment, then the diamond sand continued on to pierce his bones. If I end up screaming now, then it means that when it is time for my internal organs to be strengthened, that would mean my soul would disintegrate and I would die. Has that 9th elder ever tried this on himself before? How did he even come up with this hellish method to begin with? Coming up next is... Suddenly Zhuo Fan's body seized up 1 second and laid limp the next. His skeleton was turned to dust in that instant. Then my human body will be destroyed. Step 3: Refining internal organs. It didn't wait to stick to them like before but punched right through them. Zhuo Fan's organs were shredded and he was spewing blood mixed with flesh again and again. Yet despite the constant flow of blood and the sweat and the pain, his lips curled into a sinister grin. I have prevailed. Now only body remodeling is left. The last step was to reconstruct my internal organs. It didn't go as planned. The diamond sand finished with his organs and went for his brain. How could this be? Once my soul dies, my entire form will die with it. There won't even be a body to bury. This is bad. The more blurry my vision becomes, this means my soul is slowly being worn away. His soul was slowly being spent and was on the verge of shattering. And all he could do was wait for his demise. Ever since I started the path of magic, there have been many obstacles, and became the right-hand man of the holy saint, everything was glorious. After I claimed the top position among the 8 emperors, I was overjoyed even more. Later on, when I found the 9 secret records, but then, I was betrayed by my disciples, Spurt, and was reborn into the Luo family. I became a butler. Zhuo Fan, what are you waiting for? Xuaningxiang. Zhuo Fan's lips cracked open, muttering her name in his delirium. Then he flashed his eyes open and yelled, Ningguo, the only reason why I even started using this hellish method is to save her. At that moment, the strange array spun faster and faster, encompassing everything in it in arcane power. Zhuo Fan's forehead released a blue flame that turned into tendrils and enveloped his body, to ultimately fuse into the strange array. Zhuo Fan had no clue that this secret body refining method didn't just refine the body, but one's spirit too. Its purpose was to unearth all potential of a cultivator.